Hello, my name is Lori Cheney, algebra teacher at Hart County High School, and today's lesson is over solving absolute value equations. When you're solving absolute value equations, you need to remember that most of the time you are going to have two solutions to the equation. The reason is because they are absolute value. And you can have the absolute value of two different numbers and it equal the same number. So if I have the absolute value of x equals 5, what number could x be equal to? Well, x could be equal to 5, or x could be equal to negative 5. So a lot of our absolute value equations are going to have two solutions. The ones that we're working on today are. We will get to some later on that will be more complex, that we will only have one solution, but we'll talk about those later. Okay? So today we're going to look at your basic absolute value equations. Here's the first one we're going to work on. Okay, so in this equation, I've got a lot going on here. The first thing that I need to notice is that I have these absolute value bars. Okay? Got absolute value bars. And that is a key to me. And I need to, when I see those absolute value bars, that needs to be a reminder to me that I am more than likely going to have two solutions. Now, I've got some things that are outside of the absolute value bars as well. I have a negative 3 and I have a minus 10 or a negative 10. But you have to make sure that you solve this equation in the correct way. Just like any other equation, there are certain steps you have to follow, and they have to be in the correct order. So here's the way I like to think of this. I like to think of this absolute value area as a variable x. Now, notice that I am not actually marking out that absolute value area. I am just pretending for a minute that it's a variable x. So that would mean that if that were an x, my equation would be negative 3x minus 10 equals a negative 40. Okay, so if this were my equation, what would my first step be? Well, my first step would be to add 10. So that's the same first step that I would have here in this equation. The purpose of pretending that this is an x and rewriting it here is not because I care what this equation answer is. It is to help me to determine which number I get rid of first and what operation I use to get rid of that number. Okay? So here I have to get rid of this negative 10. I want to move it to the other side of the inequality. And I do that by adding 10. That's going to leave me with negative 3, absolute value, 8 minus 5x equals negative 40 plus 10 is negative 30. Now, once again, if this were an x, if this were a variable x, and if my equation was negative 3x equals negative 30, what would I do to solve that equation? I would do the inverse, so I would divide by negative 3. That's the same thing you're going to do here on this equation. I'm going to divide by negative 3. My negative 3's cancel. That leaves me absolute value of 8 minus 5x equals 10. Now, I don't have anything else left outside of my absolute value bars. I've gotten rid of everything outside the bars. So now my next step is to create two equations. Remember, I'm going to have two solutions. So in order to get two solutions, I need two equations. My first equation, you're always just going to take away those bars. Just rewrite this equation without the absolute value bars. Your second equation is going to be to make this 10, the number that it's equal to, a negative. And now you're going to solve both of these equations. Subtract 8 from both sides. That leaves me negative 5x equals 10 minus 8 is 2. Divide by negative 5. And x equals negative 2/5. Over here, I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. Negative 5x equals negative 18. Divide by negative 5 on both sides. And x is going to be equal to, be careful with your signs here, a negative divided by negative is a positive, 18 over 5. So those are my two solutions. Okay? Now take a moment, you can press pause and make sure you copy all this down to have in your notes. And the next one we're going to look at, I want you to copy it down. I want you're going to work this one on your own. And then we'll check it together. Okay, make sure you can tell that those are my absolute value bars. Negative 2, absolute value, 1 plus 2x, absolute value, minus 2 equals negative 20. So I want you to press pause on the video, work out this problem, make sure you get rid of everything outside the bars, and then set up your two equations, and then play the video and check your answer with mine. Okay guys, once again, I like to act like this is a variable x, and the reason I do that is to help me decide what to get rid of, what to move, and how to move it. So if this were my equation, I would start off by adding 2 on both sides. So that's what I'm going to do, and it's this 2. Notice, negative 2x, negative 2x. These are being multiplied. This is being subtracted, so this is the term that I'm going to start with. Add 2, negative 2, absolute value of 1 plus 2x equals a negative 20 plus 2 is negative 18. Now I need to get rid of the negative 2. Once again, if this were an x, my equation would say negative 2x equals negative 18. How would I get rid of that negative 2? I would divide by negative 2, wouldn't I? So that's the same thing I'm going to do to get rid of the negative 2 here. Cancel that negative 2 out by dividing by negative 2. That leaves me absolute value of 1 plus 2x equals negative 18 divided by negative 2 is 9. Now I have gotten rid of everything outside of the absolute value bars. I've gotten rid of everything outside. Now I'm ready to set up my two equations. My first equation, I just take away the bars. My second equation, I want to make the 9 a negative. Now we're going to solve. Two x equals 8. Divide both sides by 2. And x equals 4. Same steps over here, but be careful. Your numbers are definitely not the same. 2x equals negative 10, because we changed that to a negative 9. Divide by 2, and x equals negative 5. So my two solutions are 4 and negative 5. Okay, make sure you press pause if you need to check this, make sure all of your steps are correct. If you made a mistake, please go back through and find where you made your mistake and rework the problem. Okay? Go back and watch the video again if you want to see the examples again. Thank you.